coming out tonight for our professional programs open house, and specifically this particular section of the open house is about the Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Leadership program, which is now entering its 4th year. We've got about 40 students, 35 to 40 students in the program right now, and have continued to grow each year since the program's inception. Francine, if you bump to the next slide. My name is Gib Mason. I'm a professor of the practice and the program director for the Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Leadership master's degree. A professor of the practice just simply means that I didn't earn my professorship as an academic. I earned it in the practice of entrepreneurship over 40-some years. Renee Eisenhuth is our program coordinator, and she's not with us tonight. Francine is with us tonight. So Francine, thank you for running the slides. I appreciate that. We could not solve for me being the host tonight for some reason. Renee is an important name. Any questions that you ever have about the program from an academic, from a kind of, I guess, syllabus perspective, content perspective, I'm your person. If you have questions about how do I get into a class that I can't get into, Renee is the person that supports that. So those are the two of us work kind of hand in hand for this particular program. The agenda, thank you, Francine. We'll talk about the curriculum and some course descriptions. We'll talk about admissions information and questions. I'm not a big fan of lecture, and I do teach some of our courses, particularly the capstones, and I've never believed that lecture is the way to learn. And I would love for this to be a two-way conversation tonight. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Just jump in, interrupt me. As we move through the slides, I'm happy to answer questions as we go along, but certainly we'll take questions at the end for those of you that prefer to wait until the end. So that's our agenda. We'll jump into the courses. The total program is 30 credits. 15 of those credits are required and 15 are electives, and each of our electives are worth 3 credits. So you have 5 elective courses and then the 6 required courses. So I'm going to start with the capstones, Capstone I and Capstone II. Capstone I is a single credit capstone and Capstone II is a 2-credit capstone. So you put those together, you've got 3 credits. And the reason that, you can back up for me, Francine. The reason that we put the capstones that way is when I went through my graduate program, which happened to be like a 50-hour program, when I got to the end, we got to the capstone, and I thought to myself when I finished it, boy, it really would have been nice to know what was expected of me in the capstone as I went through my other coursework. And I likely would have approached that coursework a little bit differently and maybe pulled some different things from the coursework. So when I created this program, I decided to make it a 2-capstone program, and the Capstone I is really there just to get you tuned into what your Capstone II course is going to look like and what the expectations are. And that way, as you move through the courses, you'll be in a better position to understand kind of what to take from those courses to support your learning. So the other 4 required courses are the Entrepreneurial Mindset, Leadership and Communication, Legal and Ethical Issues in Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Leadership, and then Entrepreneurial Finance and Planning. So I'm going to go through each of these in a little bit. If you pop forward for me, Francine, we have really 3 pathways to think about: entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, and socialpreneurship. So regardless of kind of how you're coming to the program, there's a place for you. So maybe you are looking to start your own business. Maybe you're in the process of already starting your own business. And that would certainly be, kind of the entrepreneurial route. The entrepreneur is the person that's working in a larger organization, or an organization that is not, that they're not the owner of yet. they believe that there's an opportunity to kind of bring that entrepreneurial spirit into their organization, and that's what we think about as an entrepreneur. To give you a couple of examples of folks that have come through the program, some entrepreneurs, and I'll just use some first names. Elise is actually in the program today, and she has created a business focused on wellness, yoga, and coaching. So very entrepreneurial. We've had Grace has been in the program in the past, and Grace is from Nigeria. Grace started a home healthcare service coming out of the program. Entrepreneurs, a gentleman named Steve works for Northrop Grumman, and thought that it would be valuable to bring some entrepreneurial ideas into that very large organization. And indeed, he has graduated and he has done that in a pretty significant way. And then the socialpreneur is the person that's looking to either work in a nonprofit, start a nonprofit, or maybe social benefit, create a company that actually runs in a for-profit arena, but with the focus of those profits being on solving some type of a social challenge that we have. So however you are approaching the program, we really do believe that we've created space for all three of those types of preneurs, intra, and socialpreneurs. If you'd move us forward. Thank you, Francine. So these are the three pathways, and I want to be really clear here on the pathways. When you receive your degree, it is going to say that you've received a master's degree in entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership. It is not going to say with a concentration in entrepreneurship, or socialpreneurship. So these are really just 6 additional, what's the word that I'm looking for? Not required courses, but optional courses. So you can take any of these courses. If you came in as an entrepreneur and you say, gosh, I'm really interested in that project management approaches course, take it. If you're walking in as a socialpreneur and you go, boy, I really want to find out about design thinking, take it. So these are essentially all electives. These 6 courses are electives, but this should just help you think about how do I design my curriculum, and I'm always available to help you do that as well, and candidly would encourage you to have a discussion with me one-on-one about what it is you're trying to accomplish, and I can help you think through what courses might best get you there. So let me give you some ideas about what these courses are about, and we'll work through these, and then we'll get back to the required courses in a little bit. So on the entrepreneurship side, design thinking. And I want to talk about design thinking and creative problem solving in the socialpreneur. And then there's a third course, which we'll talk about a little bit later, called learning organizations. And the reason I talk about those 3 together is that they are really unique courses. And what I mean by that is we actually bring in an outside client into the classroom to solve a problem. And in the design thinking, it could literally be anything. The last 2 design thinking courses that we ran, the problems that we solved were, we had a for-profit entity. I happen to sit on the board of a couple of for-profit entities. And this one is Shapiro. And Shapiro is a large importer-exporter based in Baltimore. And they had just received the Baltimore Business Journal's, best places to work. And they thought, that's great, but we believe that we can do more. So the design thinking course came up with the question of what else can we be doing to enhance our employees' engagement at Shapiro? So over the course of the semester, that's what we looked at. We ended up with a 100+ page report. That report was delivered to the senior executives of Shapiro. And since I'm a board member, I can tell you that about 75%, I think it was 7 out of 9 recommendations were adopted by the organization. The most recent creative problem solving and socialpreneur course that's actually being taught this semester, we're looking at homelessness. and the challenges of the homeless. Last semester in the design thinking course, we looked at the ALICE population, which ALICE is an acronym for Asset, Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. And these are folks that are employed and have to turn away from promotions and raises because the additional income that they would earn would kick them out of necessary benefits, and the additional income doesn't offset those benefits. So really unique, kind of sticky, what we oftentimes refer to as wicked problems, and we've had the opportunity to work with several organizations in the design thinking space and in the creative problem solving space to solve those kinds of problems. Or at least provide recommendations for those problems. And in that ALICE scenario, not only did we have the opportunity to meet with several members of the ALICE population, we worked directly with United Way. The students visited the legislature down in Annapolis to get some understanding of the kinds of challenges that the legislature sees. And all the while, with whether it's design thinking or creative problem solving, learning design thinking skills, learning creative problem solving skills, and leveraging those skills against the challenges that are put in front of us. So those three courses, design thinking, creative problem solving, and learning organization, all have an external client that become part of the course and really create a very hands-on, very applied learning opportunity. And the reality is, I think the entire program is applied learning. You'll be asked when you come into the program to, if you're not coming in with an entrepreneurial, intrapreneurial, or socialpreneurial idea, we'll ask you to develop something. And whether you pursue that all the way through the curriculum or you change as you go is completely up to you. But you will always be working on something that is real. And we find that to be really important. Design thinking has been taught by me. It's also been taught by a woman named Carol Bogash. Creative problem solving, same thing. It's been taught by the two of us. Carol now teaches both of those courses and does a remarkable job. She's an entrepreneur in her own right, and her background comes from the arts. She's a concert pianist, has worked with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, and done a lot of things on her own. So she's really an amazing woman. Incredible thinker, and I really appreciate her. Sales and marketing is the second of what we would consider really good courses to take if you're going down the entrepreneurial route. This is taught by a gentleman named Jeremy Steinberg. Jeremy and I was actually the CEO of a company that Jeremy was a member of several years ago. Jeremy is high energy, sales and marketing oriented guy, just incredible course. And in that course, you'll develop a sales and marketing plan for the work that you're doing. Again, whether that's an entrepreneur, intrapreneur, socialpreneur, it's, what do you mean sales and marketing inside a big company? Well, you got to sell and market your ideas inside large organizations. So very, very valuable course. Once you've met Jeremy, you're glad that you have, and would encourage that, even as an elective for those that don't follow the entrepreneurial path. Entrepreneurship course. Entrepreneurship is also taught by Carol Bogash, and this focuses very much on how do we operate in a preneurial way inside a larger organization. What are the things that, what are some of the roadblocks that get in our way in large organizations, bureaucratic organizations, and how do we really extend ourselves and extend our ideas into organizations that are large. Project management approaches, taught by John Fitzpatrick. I've worked with John for over a decade now at UMBC's training centers. He's been an adjunct faculty there, terrific guy. And project management approaches, the kind of old school project management is what we refer to as waterfall. It still has a place in today's project management, so John will touch on that. But most of that course is focused on Agile, DevOps, Mode 2, all the different types of project management approaches that have really been developed over the last 10, 15, 20 years and have gone a long way toward replacing the waterfall process and getting us into and out of projects more rapidly, more successfully, and with better quality. Great course, love it. And again, if you're an entrepreneur, you can take that course. If you're a socialpreneur, you can take that course. These are all essentially electives. Creative problem solving, talked a little bit about already. Marketing and fundraising is a course that we've yet to deliver. And I don't know that candidly that we ever will. I think if you are on the socialpreneurial track, sales and marketing is still a great way to get that sensitivity to how am I selling my social idea, my non-for-profit, how am I marketing it, and what do I need to do for fundraising. Next slide, Francine. Thank you. The remainder of the electives, learning organizations we talked about as one of those courses that has an external client. And the last time we ran this, we actually used the Department of Professional Studies at UMBC as our outside client. And what we do here is we use the methods of what does it mean to be a developed learning organization? What does it mean to develop as a learning organization? A lot of Peter Senge's work is engaged with here in this particular course. And what what research has told us is that learning organizations function at higher levels than those organizations that don't learn. Well, that seems like a kind of a no-brainer type of statement. The question becomes, what are we doing to learn as an organization? Individuals learn, but organizations learn. And how do we structure ourselves in a way that we develop organizational learning habits and tendencies that really support the development of all the people in the organization and then the organization writ large? Terrific course. Diffusion of innovation is taught by a gentleman named Sean Wolf. And here, the way we look at innovation is through the lens of we have to harness it, we have to promote it, and then we have to diffuse it. And Sean will step you through what that means. How do we begin to harness innovation? Once we've harnessed that innovation, how do we promote it, across the organization? And then as we've promoted it across the organization, ultimately, how do we diffuse that innovation across an organization? How do we make innovation just the oxygen that we breathe? There's a particular company that I work with. They're a large construction company, about $500 million in revenue annually, and we are just launching their innovative capital reinvestment program. And that program is focused on not just how do we get the organization to begin to innovate, but over the long term, 3, 5, 10 years, how do we get to the point where we don't even need an innovative capital reinvestment program? It just becomes, when you diffuse innovation, it becomes part of the oxygen of the organization. It's the lifeblood. And Sean will step you through that. Leading teams and organizations, pretty straightforward. This particular course is taught by John Fitzpatrick as well. And it is all about exactly what it says. You work on leadership around teams and organizations. So this is not kind of at an individual level. We'll get to that in a moment. But what are all the elements of creating high potential teams, leading those teams, leading organizations to higher ground? Tremendous course. We'll move from here into the requireds, I believe. Next slide. Yes, entrepreneurial mindset. So I want to spend some time on each of these 4 required courses. The entrepreneurial mindset is taught in the fall each year. And for those of you that are going to start in the fall, it would be the #1 course I would recommend that you take. If you're going to end up taking a course this summer, that would be great. If you wait until next spring, you'd have to wait until the fall to take this course. But what we do in this course is a couple of things. One, we introduce you to the mindset of the entrepreneur, and Sean Wolf teaches this course as well. I've taught this course in the past. And it just helps you, whether you're an intra, or socialpreneur, it just helps you gain an understanding of what does it really take? What does it take mentally, physically, emotionally to be an entrepreneur, to be the person that is, putting your money on the line as the entrepreneur, your reputation on the line as the entrepreneur, maybe your money on the line as the socialpreneur. What's it take emotionally? What's it take to kind of have that burden of being that intra or socialpreneur? And I say burden, and I say that with all the love in my heart. It's a burden well worn, and deeply appreciated once you understand it. So we really work hard to help you understand what the mindset of an entrepreneur really is. The other thing that happens in this class is, I mentioned it earlier, for those of you that would be walking in with an idea, then we will begin to work to develop that idea. For those of you that are already in business and really just trying to take it to another level, then we'll work with that business. If you are coming in as a clean slate, just going, boy, I'd really just love to learn about this stuff, then we're going to ask you to come up with something. And whether that's, again, intra, or socialpreneurial, we really don't care, but we want you to have something to be able to work against as you move through the program. And this entrepreneurial mindset will help you get to the mindset part, and it will help you in the beginning stages of what does it mean to move my company forward, to move my nonprofit forward, to bring a new idea into my business, whatever that might be. And it's fabulous to watch, and having now seen multiple folks graduate from the program, from having them in 601 when they first developed ideas to they're now actually businesses that are operating, to folks that came in without any thought as to what they might do, and to end up picking an idea and carrying it through this class and then changing as they moved into other coursework. That's great, and that's part of being an entrepreneur. Is not every idea is a great idea. So how do we vet that? How do we solve for what's going to work and what isn't going to work? Is a big piece of what we try to accomplish in the entrepreneurial mindset. Is to just get you launched, get you moving, get you going. So that's the entrepreneurial mindset. Before I move on, I've been talking nonstop. A, I need to take a drink of my Perrier, and B, I need to ask, does anybody have any questions at this point?
Yes, I do. I'm really excited about this program. I would actually, can you see me?
I can.
Oh, sorry. I would actually be transferring from another school just because I'm relocating. And all right, so here are my questions. I'm not, this is what I want you to do. I'm going to ask the question, and if you're going to get to it soon, just tell me I'm
Okay.
ready to answer it.
Yep.
Okay. So one of my questions is, do you accept transfer credits for this program?
We do accept transfer credits, but it's at my discretion, which means I'll need to see the syllabus from whatever courses that you would be interested in trying to transfer. A, and B, we take up to 6 credits in transfer.
Okay. All right. And then my second question, and then we'll go on is, so if you have, I noticed on the I guess the information on the website, it says that the classes are offered after, like, after work hours.
Yeah.
Are they, with the pandemic, are you planning to move back in person or to be online?
So great question. So a couple things. One, our classes now run Monday through Thursday, and each of the courses run from 6 p.m. to 8:45, with one exception, and that is on Mondays from 4 to 6 is when we run the capstones. So when you get to the capstone courses, those 2 courses do run from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. About 2 years ago, so pre-pandemic, we made a decision to move this program from fully face-to-face to hybrid. And we're in the process of doing that when COVID hit, which candidly, that really, it helped us that we were already in the process of doing that, because the instructors were already working on their curriculum to move it to online, at least for that part of the hybrid. So we were very successful in moving to the online environment. Our intentions going forward are, it's a mix. And ultimately, Jessica, it will be what we refer to as high flex, which means just like we'll meet you where you are, intra, or socialpreneur, we'll meet you where you are based on what your desires are to interact with the classroom. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is every course will be high flex or fully online. And there's only one that will be fully online, and that is the legal and ethics course. It's a 100% online class. All the other courses will be high flex, and high flex means if you want to engage with the curriculum fully online, you can. You don't ever have to show up in a classroom. If you want to engage in the classroom, you can. Now, what it doesn't mean is that class will be held every week face-to-face. So it will be essentially a hybrid environment, meaning about a third of the courses, about a third of the time in the course will be in the classroom, and about 2/3 of it will be online, but in a synchronous environment, meaning your instructor will be with you online. It's not asynchronous, where you're learning literally on your own. There could be a module or two like that, but by and large, that's the way it would be structured. With all of that said, we are not there yet. The capstone courses are there now, and we will be teaching the capstone courses in that high flex environment this coming semester. The entrepreneurial mindset is being worked on right now, and the expectation is that we'll do that in high flex this coming semester. Design thinking is a course that will be offered in the fall. That is not going to be offered as a high flex course. It will be offered as hybrid, which basically means about half the time you're either going to be in a classroom or at a client site, or you'll be online. Does that, I know that's a bit of a mixed.
No, that makes complete sense. I was just checking because, I want to be able to go, and I don't want to, since I get off of work at 5, I just kind of wanted to make sure I could do it. But that sounds great. It sounds perfect. So excited.
Yeah, I think we've picked the right way to do it, because it really does, for the person that just can't get here, well, you can still play with us, right? And for the person that can get here, we've taken some of the friction out of the travel by not having you show up every week in the classroom, but each week we'll come together in this online format, as a synchronous format, and maybe every third week-ish, we'll come together face-to-face. So something along those lines. Thank you for the questions. Anything else before I move on?
I'll let you move on. If you answered it throughout, I'll try to so you can move on with your presentation.
Fair enough. Thank you. So 602, Leadership and Communications. This course is offered in the spring each year. And this is, again, one of the required courses. John Fitzpatrick teaches this course as well. It's a fascinating class. About the first half of the class is focused on you. And what I mean by that is you'll do a series of assessments. You'll do an emotional intelligence assessment. You'll do a Myers-Briggs personality type indicator assessment. You'll do a conflict modes assessment. You'll do a leadership styles assessment. So for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks of the course, we focus on you, because our belief is that until you understand who you are, it's almost impossible to lead someone else, let alone a team or an organization. So this is I've taught this class before as well. And by the way, I've wrote the curriculum for virtually the entire program. With that said, each one of the instructors takes it and makes it their own. And not any course has ever been taught the exact same way twice. I mean, if you've got innovation as your middle name of your program, you darn well better be innovating routinely. But this particular program always starts that way. And we think about this through the lens of self to symphony. Until I understand self, I really can't go to symphony. So we really help you gain an understanding of who you are and how you think about leadership. And there's a lot of vulnerability in this class, which I think is really powerful. The opportunity to share with your classmates. Our class sizes tend to be in the 10-person range, 10 to 12 people, which is just a wonderful class size to be able to really explore your own thinking. And then the last half of the class is all focused on communication. And what does communication look like as a leader? What does communication look like, period? And then, how do I take my newfound understanding of self and leadership and communication and apply it in terms of teams and organizations? And of course, we have that second course, Leading Teams and Organizations, that does a much deeper dive into that area. Great class. I love this class. And if you give yourself the room and the space to show some vulnerability in this class, it's amazing what you can get out of it. Next course is 603. This is the legal and ethical issues for entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders. This is taught by Dan Jenkins. He is our one and only true professor. He works in the philosophy department at UMBC and was kind enough to sit with me for several hours to talk about how do we kind of bring a non-academic look at legal and ethical issues in entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership. He's done a phenomenal job. As I mentioned earlier, it is the one course that is 100% online. And it's the only course that's taught that way. And the name spells it out for you. You will be looking into legal and ethical issues. This is not about how do I set my company up legally. It is about legal and ethical issues, and an interesting course. When I say that Dan's our only true professor, I'll talk a little bit later in more detail about the rest of the instructor crew as we go. And then the final required course is 604. Which is finance and planning, so entrepreneurial finance and planning. This is taught by Jason Pappas. I was actually the CEO of one of Jason's companies many, many years ago as well. He and Jeremy Steinberg, who I mentioned earlier, and I worked together in that organization for a handful of years. Jason, so this course is not an accounting course. However, if you do not have Excel skills, and I don't mean like, killer Excel skills. I mean the rudimentary understanding of how to use Excel, get them before you take this class. And that's not hard. You can go, there's 1,000 different free courses on, intro to Excel and intermediate Excel. And I would just encourage you to take 2 or 3 of those classes online before you take this particular course. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out Excel versus learning what Jason has to offer. It is also not a deep finance course. This course is really all about cash flow and understanding that cash is king as the entrepreneur. Entrepreneur or socialpreneur, you gotta understand how to keep cash moving in your organization, how to plan for that. How to keep track of that. You'll do some basic financial modeling. You'll gain an understanding of income statements, balance sheets, and cash flows. You will have to create those, but you do not need to become an expert in that. I do happen to be a CPA, so I understand this stuff pretty well. It has served me well to have deep understanding of the financial aspects of my companies. And whether, again, you're looking at this through the lens of intra, or socialpreneur, you need to have some basis of understanding of the finances. Otherwise, you're in really big trouble. Or you hire somebody that understands all this stuff. And for most of us, when we're kind of bootstrapping to get an organization off the ground, having this base understanding is really important. And Jason does a great job of bringing this home. This course is offered, 601 and 603 are offered in the fall, 602 and 604 are offered in the spring. And my encouragement would be, if you're looking to take 2 courses at a time, I would knock these 2 out, these 4 courses out to begin with in your first 2 semesters before you dive into the electives. And depending on how long you plan to be in the program, You could break that up a little bit and take some electives, and break these into 4 different semesters. Your choice completely. I encourage you to take Capstone I after you've taken whatever your first semester is. Get some course under your belt first. If you're starting in the fall, make sure that that's 601 at a minimum. And then in the spring, take whatever you're going to take and take the 1 credit capstone at that point. All right, Francine, let's roll. So I already talked about the capstones, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about them here. Capstone I is a 1 credit. Candidly, the amount of work that you do for this credit is not worth a credit. Capstone II is a 2 credit. Candidly, the amount of work that you do is worth far more than 2 credits. So tried to balance that out. Capstone I, you'll be introduced to what I'm looking for in your final project, which is essentially what we refer to as a product service plan. And instead of calling it a business plan, I call it a product service plan. And the reason I do that is depends on how you're approaching the work here. If you're looking to build a business, then it's a business plan. If you're looking to drive a project inside of a larger organization, then it's a product service plan. If you're looking to add a service to your nonprofit organization, then it's a product service plan. So you'll get introduced to the product service plan. There are 13 elements to it, and essentially the work of the semester is to develop about a paragraph on each of those 13 elements. What is it that I need to be thinking about in my product service plan coming out of Capstone I as I begin to think about Capstone II? The only other work here is you'll create a business model canvas that takes a look at 9 elements of creating a business. There's a lot of overlap with the product service plan there. That is a 1-page document. And then there is a book that goes along with the business model canvas that's a remarkable piece of literature. Whether or not I'll still have that, continue to use that book when you get there, I don't know, but there will be some book that you'll need to work with. So that course runs from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Monday nights. We do not meet every Monday because it's a single credit course. So out of a 15 or 16 week semester, we might meet 10 or 11 times during that. And we might meet a couple of times face-to-face, and the rest of the times would be in the online environment. And the times that we would meet face-to-face would be when you're doing any kind of presentations, which, by the way, I am a nut for presentations. You do a lot of them, and you do a lot of teamwork in this program. Capstone II is the culmination of your time in the program. It is designed to be your delivery of the product service plan or business plan. That is a 50 to 100 page document. I'm not really one that counts the pages, but to get through all that you need to get through to be able to launch your business or extend your business or create a new service or product within your current organization, you'll have a fully vetted product service plan. You will clean up your business model canvas from Capstone I. And there is one particular book that we read here called The Art of the Start by Guy Kawasaki. And again, that may or may not be the book that I would be using when you get to Capstone II. So the work here is really in the product service plan. Like Capstone I, we will not meet all 15 weeks. We will meet 10 or 11 of those, and a handful of those will be in person. Most of them will be in a synchronous online format. All right, that is the end of all the classes. Before I jump in, you can leave it here. Before I jump into Design by Professionals for Professionals, any questions about any of the courses that I've brought up so far?
I have a question. This is Destiny.
Hey, Destiny, thank you.
So I have a question. So are there any organizations on campus related to any of these courses that are in the program?
So there is a club, if you will. There's an entrepreneurship club. There's also the Alex Brown Entrepreneurship Center. And That center does all kinds of different activities. And when I say activities, I mean guest speakers. There's a speaker series that comes to campus. There's an idea competition. There's a business plan competition.
Mm-hmm.
And so, those are the two really big drivers of non-course specific entrepreneurial opportunities on campus.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions about the courses or anything else for that matter? All right, let me talk a little bit about this designed by professionals for professionals. So I guess a little bit about me maybe to start. I have been in 10 different industries in my career. I've owned most of the businesses that I've had in different industries, not all of them, but many of them. I've burned a couple businesses to the ground in my lifetime, and I've had a bunch of pretty significant successes as well. And the learning happens in both of those categories. I had the opportunity about 15 years ago at the request of Freeman Hrabowski, who's the president of UMBC, to get involved with the development of a minor in entrepreneurship and innovation on campus in the undergraduate program. There was a group of us, a couple of deans and a few others that spent a few years putting that together. And that rolled out about a decade ago, maybe even a little longer than that ago, at the university level. About 10 years ago, I started working with UMBC's training centers, which is the non-credit extension of the university. And part of what I did there, I was the chief operating officer and chief financial officer of that organization. And to give you a sense of scale, UMBC has about 13,000 students, and we have about 8,000 students on an annual basis that go through UMBC's training centers. We built within training centers the Center for Leadership and Innovation, and over a period of 5 or 6 years, I had created about 60 different courses that we were using for large organizations all over the country in training and development for leadership, innovation, and entrepreneurship. I went to Chris Steele, who is the vice provost of the Department of Professional Studies, and suggested that we create a master's degree out of the work that we've been doing at training centers. And that's what this is. So, over a period of 5, 6, 7 years, we created all these courses for large organizations, small organizations, individuals, trained thousands of people using these concepts, and have taken that and turned it into a master's degree. So that's why I said early on, this is such applied stuff that we do. All the courses are deep application. Yes, there's the academic underpinnings that are important, but equally, if not more important in my mind, is how does this stuff actually apply? And who are the people that are going to help me understand how it applies? So every one of your instructors holds a master's degree or a PhD. And there's more than just our real professor that holds a PhD in a field that is applicable to entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership. So, for instance, in my case, my undergraduate degree is in economics. I am a CPA. My master's degree is in organizational development and strategic human resources. And so that academic piece is important. And we'll give credit where credit is due. I mean, this is a university, and it's a university with some rigor. But equally, if not more important, every one of your instructors is an entrepreneur. And in my case, 10 different industries. In many of the others, 4, 5, 6 different industries. And what they bring to the classroom day in and day out is how this stuff actually applies in the real world. And so the academic piece is important, but equally important, you've got professionals that have lived this stuff, have failed at it, have succeeded at it, are the ones that are helping you gain the deepest understanding that we can help you gain about entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership. So designed by professionals for professionals, candidly, is really important to me. And if I'm in your shoes, it would be really important to me to know that the folks that are teaching me are not simply academics. And I don't mean to take away from the academic profession. It's worthy. But I think in this particular field, you need that real external experience to provide the greatest insight. Next slide, please. So I don't even know what this slide means anymore. Flexible schedules and catalog reach back. I guess the catalog reach back piece means wherever you start, whatever the catalog says you're required to do as of your time starting is what that, if things change going forward, you don't have to ever worry about having the program change on you. And flexible schedules, we've talked kind of about that, the way that the structure of our program is migrating toward a high flex environment, meaning some of the coursework will be face-to-face and some of it will be in a synchronous online environment, with the exception of legal and ethics, which is fully online. Next slide, please. So the fall 2021 schedule of classes, these are the dates that you need to be familiar with. We start at the end of August, we end at the middle of December. Last day to add or drop is the 14th of September, and to view the full academic calendar, there you go. And I believe that this slide deck does get shared with all of you. Next slide will be the very specific schedule for EIL, Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Leadership. Francine, if you would move us. Thank you. So these are the 6 courses that are being offered. That would actually be courses being offered in the fall, not in the spring. So that needs to be corrected. So Mindset, Monday night, 6 to 8:45. Again, I just can't express to you how valuable it is to take that course as soon as you can. Again, there would be an opportunity to take a summer course this summer, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. 603, Legal and Ethics. So there's your 2 required courses being offered in the fall. Dan Jenkins teaches that, 6 to 8:45 again, and that's on Thursday. 608, Design Thinking, Carol Bogash, Tuesday night, 6 to 8:45. That's the course that will take on an external client. It's going to be interesting to see who that client is. We're actually beginning to get a line outside the door, people kind of raising their hand saying, hey, can I be the next client, which is really pretty cool. It's a phenomenal class. I mean, it's so much fun, that class. And the learning is so deep because you're dealing with real world challenges. Project management approaches, John Fitzpatrick, 6 to 8:45 on Wednesdays. As I mentioned, project management approaches really is a kind of a deep dive into Agile, DevOps, Mode 2, all of the kind of past 10 to 20 years of new ways of thinking about how do you manage a project. Again, great. I mean, all 4 of those courses are phenomenal classes. And then I teach the 2 capstones. So you all, I would not encourage you to take Capstone I this coming fall. I would take it next spring after you had a chance to take at least 1 course before you end up with me. Let me talk for just a moment about the summer course. So we try to offer a summer class each summer. Whether we do or not is really up to you, the students. If we get eight students minimum to sign up, we will run a class in the summer. I run the same class every summer, which is kind of funny. It's 690, and 690 is special topics, and we change the topic. And we're in the process right now. So what is the topic? The topic is driven by the students. So there will be an email that goes out to the current students at the end of this week saying, hey, here are 3 or 4 different topical areas that we can develop a course around that fits entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership. Which would you be most interested in? Or is there some other topic that you would really find fascinating? And so 2 of the 3 summers that we've had summer courses so far, we've been able to offer courses. And the last one, John Fitzpatrick actually taught it. He created it. And it was negotiation and decision making. So we really look to the students to participate in their own education and in how, what they're going to learn. And one other thought on that before I move off of this slide. I'm a firm believer that when you walk into a classroom in entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership, whoever is standing at the front of the class, whether it's John Fitzpatrick or Dan Jenkins or Carol Bogash or me or Sean Wolf or Jason Pappas or who am I missing? Jeremy Steinberg, and there are others. Their responsibility is twofold. One, it's to understand the curriculum that they intend to deliver to you, and two, understand what you need as a class when you walk in the door that night. And so what they deliver and how they deliver it and how you partake in that, it creates a very unique experience when your instructors think about you first instead of the curriculum first. And I have found that in my last 10 years of working with lots of large organizations, that has proven to be a secret sauce, where, there's certainly a sensitivity as to where we need to go, but how we get there is really driven more by you than it is by us, meaning the facilitators of your learning. Okay, next slide. Any questions on that before we jump off the slide? Sorry. All right. Admission requirements, bachelor's degree in any subject, which I also find pretty cool about what we do here. It's amazing how many different bachelor's degrees show up in our programs. We really are open to all comers. Entrepreneurs come in every shape, size, flavor, and bachelor's degree. And there are certainly plenty of entrepreneurs that don't have bachelor's degree, but as a master's degree program, we do require that. Desired minimum undergraduate GPA of 3.0. Notice it says desired, not required. If you do have a 3.0, terrific. If you don't, and I'm the one that reads through all this stuff and makes the decisions as to who we accept and who we don't. If you do not have a 3.0 GPA, I recommend a couple things. One, get letters of recommendation. Two, do a really good job on, you're asked to write a letter of kind of why you want to be involved. And three, I would encourage you to reach out to me and let's have a phone conversation and let me get to know you and really understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. So, that we don't require a 3.0. It makes it really easy for you to get in if you have it. If you don't, make sure you do a great goal statement. And if I'm in your shoes, I would reach out and talk to me. I'm actually a pretty nice guy. You'll need official transcripts. Letters of references are optional. Never hurts to have those in there. If you're under a 3.0, I'm going to be looking for those. And then international applicants, refer to there's some special admissions information on the admissions page around language literacy and things like that. And the next slide. Oh, and Renee joined us. I'm so excited, Renee, my gosh. All right, tuition, all I did was tell people how awesome you are, Renee. Tuition, financial aid and billing, so tuition and fees, Maryland residents, so that's your per credit fee, which means what? It's about $2,100 per course, plus or minus. Non-Maryland residents, you're about $3,400. Financial aid and scholarships, there's a website there for you, student business services. And then I think that takes us to the final slide, if I remember correctly. Did I remember correctly? Of course I didn't. Academic standards. So this is this is what the muckety mucks force us to put on these slides. You do need to keep a 3.0 to graduate. Once you're admitted, you have to remain continuously enrolled. If you need to take a semester off, that's cool. You just need to tell me you're going to do that. We provide a leave of absence. And then there's a whole bunch of policies and procedures if you decide to be a jerk and not live into the academic conduct that I would expect of you and you should expect of yourself. Does that lead us to the last slide, Francine? No, transfer credits. Jessica, here you go. So up to 6 transfer credits. And as I mentioned earlier, we need a course description, the syllabus, and the number of credit hours that course earned you. And I will look at those, and I do that on a individual as is basis. All right, I'm not even going to imagine that the next one's the last one, and it is. So DPS 2021, make sure you use that when you apply so that you don't have to pay the $50 to apply to the program. All right, with all that said, I'm now going to shut up. I take all questions. Any thoughts, comments, things you wonder about?
I have a question.
Please.
So if I plan on trying to start spring 2022, so would I start the application now or would I have to wait till the fall?
No, you can start it now. It will ask you in the application when you would like to start,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have it as a spring 2022 start.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What about same thing just for me? I see that, you know, fall is the next time to enroll, but you have a summer class that will help me to kind of stay on track.
Yeah.
If we apply now, could we
Yeah.
potentially, okay.
If you're interested in taking a summer course and you haven't applied yet, and maybe Renee can shed more light on this, get your application into us as soon as you can. And I would think if we, you know, can kind of get through that in the next couple of weeks, because that summer semester starts like at the end of May, so we're getting close. But yes, I'm sure we can accommodate that.
Yeah,
Renee?
hi. So the summer session does start June 1st. And if you do, you'll have to fill out the fall 2020 application, but send me an email. I answer that EIL@UMBC email, and just let me know that you filled out the application for fall, but you do want to be admitted for summer. So
Beautiful. Thank you, Renee. Other questions?
My last one is, what is I see that part-time you could potentially graduate in 3 years. Would you recommend, you know, with people working, taking one class at a time, or is it manageable to do 2 classes at a time?
I think that's a really personal scenario. So I'll give you some examples of different students. I have a student right now, his name is Jeremy, who, by the way, helped me write the curriculum. He worked with me at UMBC training centers. Jeremy started the first semester that we started the program, and he's still a couple of semesters away from finishing. So he's going to take 4.5 years, maybe 5 years to complete the program, because he's just literally taking one course at a time. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, there was a semester, probably 4 semesters ago, maybe 5, where 3 folks, all happened to be women, enrolled to complete in 3 semesters, and they all did. Now that was a heavy lift. 2 of them were full-time, they were fully employed. One of them was a part-time employee. And I personally think that's an incredibly heavy lift and would not recommend that you try that. I've had a lot of students start with one class their first semester and then make a decision to, you know, move to 2. I've had a few students start with 2 and move to 1. The opportunity to take a summer course will give you a really good indicator of, you know, what the work is like. So, you know, if you took 2 courses a semester, right, we have 11 classes to take. If you took 2 courses a semester, you would need 5 semesters, not including a summer, plus you'd have to take the Capstone I with 2 courses, which that is very manageable. So you could complete it in 2.5 years. If you took 2 summer classes, you could do that in 2 years, as what we refer to as part-time. So it really depends on you and how you want to approach. I'll give you another example. I have another person that started, took 2 courses the first semester, took 1 course the second semester, and reached out to me and said, I'm thinking about taking a semester off. And I said, why don't you just take the 1 credit capstone that third semester? They did, and then they went back to one semester, you know, 1 course a semester again. So I think, you know, so much of it depends on the ebb and flow of your life, Jessica, and, you know, getting a sense of, you know, what what the real lift is in these classes. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
You bet. Others, any other questions, comments, things you wonder about?
For the goal statement, when we fill out the application, what does the school looks for?
So I'm the one that's going to be reading it. So what I'm looking for in that goal statement, Destiny, is to steal a line from Stephen Covey. What is it that you want to do, have, become, or give? Right? Why? Right? Why are you interested in this program? What do you see this program doing for you? What do you want to take from this program? What are you going to do with what you pull out of this program? Are you looking to start a business? Are you looking to be a better teammate in your current organization? Are you looking to help a nonprofit get up off the ground? Are you just interested in a master's degree and find the curriculum fascinating and you're curious as to where it's going to take you? Those are the kinds of things that you're not interviewing per se, but I will tell you that I've interviewed and hired thousands of people in my career, and I've very rarely ever looked at a resume. I invariably am interested in what I refer to as page 2, which is who you are. Who you are and what makes you tick and what are you interested in is far more important to me than what you've done. And in an environment like this, where it's all about learning, who you are is really far more important to me than what you've done or what you've accomplished. It doesn't mean that that's not important. It is. But I'm far more interested in the human being than I am the resume, if you will, although we do require a resume.
Thank you.
That help you?
Yes. Thank you.
It wasn't as ambiguous as I typically am, unfortunately. Okay. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. All right, listen, I really appreciate everybody's attention. I am pretty darn easy to get a hold of. My email address is gibmason @umbc.edu. Email me if you have any questions, eil@umbc.edu. As Renee said, that goes directly to her. And if you want to talk to me, you can go to her and she'll connect you with me. The first time we connect, you'll get my phone number and I am at your disposal. So, feel very welcome to reach out to me if you have any additional questions or things that you're, concerned about or wondering about. So with that said, the way I end every single class, whether it's with a private client or with my course, peace, living a dream. See y'all. Thanks for coming.